Hello, today I'm going to discuss the call for projects hosted by CMAP and the RTA. The Chicago Metropolitan Agency for Planning and the Regional Transportation Authority have coordinated again to launch a new call for communities to apply for technical assistance. The call for projects officially opened on Monday, February 26th. Through this coordination, the agencies offer assistance to an expanded group of applicants, helping them with planning and implementation. The coordination between CMAP and RTA provide applicants with interagency expertise, technical assistance, and increased capacity. CMAP is offering 10 types of technical assistance. The offerings focus on helping local governments build their capacity, develop land use and transportation plans, and implement previously created plans. The purpose of the CMAP Technical Assistance Program is to support communities by offering planning and implementation assistance, providing interagency expertise, and local government capacity building. This work will align all those efforts with CMAP's strategic direction and the comprehensive plan for the region onto 2050. When evaluating applications, CMAP will consider several thematic priorities. Does the proposed project achieve the goals associated with the sought-after type of assistance, strengthen planning capacity in communities with disadvantaged populations, increase community empowerment and equitable engagement, implement previously developed local plans, and facilitate collaboration across jurisdiction? Offerings from CMAP this year are meant to help local governments plan for solutions that can address local needs, help communities implement past plans, and prepare for grant opportunities. The types of assistance include ADA self-evaluation and transition plans, bicycle and pedestrian plans, capital improvement plans, corridor plans, grant readiness, housing and job studies, Affordable Housing Planning and Appeals Act, known as APA, next program plan implementation, pavement management plans, site planning pilot, and transportation safety plans. I'll describe each of these types of assistance in more detail on the following slides. CMAP is offering technical assistance to help local governments develop a plan that complies with the Title II obligations of the Americans with Disabilities Act. With this assistance, CMAP will develop a self-evaluation of non-compliant assets, helping communities identify improvements that can make sidewalks, crosswalks, curb ramps, and landings easier to navigate. Communities also will learn how to integrate principles of universal design into the planning process. When evaluating applications for ADA self-evaluation and transition plans, CMAP will consider whether the proposed project creates communities that are not just compliant, but fully accessible to all and aware of accessibility challenges and the benefits of accessibility. Communities can apply for this assistance to create a transportation plan that addresses the needs of residents who ride bikes or walk. CMAP will support communities through route and infrastructure planning, assessing intersections, station and transfer points, signage and signalization, streetscapes and furnishing, and accessibility. When evaluating applications for bicycle and pedestrian plans, CMAP will consider whether the proposed project cultivates innovative approaches that implement the principles of ON to 2050, identifies networks for safe travel for all, and prepares communities for various implementation funding sources. While all communities are eligible and encouraged to apply, communities in cohorts 3 and 4 will receive priority consideration when evaluating applications for bicycle and pedestrian planning assistance. CMAP's Capital Improvement Planning Assistance will help communities evaluate their existing capital planning processes. CMAP will also provide recommendations that can lead to a transparent, strategic, impactful, and successful capital improvement plan. When evaluating applications for capital improvement plans, CMAP will consider whether the proposed project cultivates innovative approaches that implement the principles of ON to 2050 and support data-driven, transparent capital improvement planning and prepares communities for greater plan implementation success. While all communities are eligible and encouraged to apply, communities in cohorts 3 and 4 will receive priority consideration when evaluating applications for capital improvement planning assistance. The Corridor Plan Assistance helps communities identify and address transportation improvements within a neighborhood, business district, corridor, riverfront, or another focus area. CMAP will help communities create goals for improvement, propose specific projects that can address those goals, and create a strategy to implement recommendations. When evaluating applications for corridor plans, CMAP will consider whether the proposed project cultivates innovative approaches that implement the principles of On to 2050 and interweaves roadway safety improvements, inclusive economic growth, and regional housing needs. The Grant Readiness Program helps local governments prepare for grant opportunities by establishing consensus on priority transportation projects, identifying next steps for implementation, and providing resources for municipalities to seek out and manage grant funding. When evaluating applications for grant readiness assistance, CMAP will consider whether the proposed project cultivates innovative approaches that implement the principles of On to 2050 and prepare communities to prioritize projects, apply for grants, and successfully manage external funding. While all communities are eligible and encouraged to apply, communities in cohorts 3 and 4 will receive priority consideration when evaluating applications for grant readiness assistance. In December 2023, the Illinois Housing Development Authority released its determination of which communities are non-exempt from the Affordable Housing Planning and Appeal Act. Non-exempt communities are required to prepare an affordable housing plan and submit it to IDA. CMAP will work with these communities to prepare the required plan. Extensive community outreach will underpin the plan, particularly the identification of one of 3 local housing goals specified in the Act. CMAP will also encourage the community to go beyond the minimum mandates and consider the relationship between jobs, transportation, and housing needs. When evaluating applications for housing and job studies, CMAP will consider whether the proposed project cultivates innovative approaches that implement the principles of On to 2050 and plans for the housing needs that will support a robust and inclusive regional economy. While all communities are eligible and encouraged to apply, communities in cohorts 1 and 2 will receive priority consideration when evaluating applications for housing and job study assistance. CMAP has worked with communities throughout northeastern Illinois to deliver more than 200 technical assistance plans in the past 10 years. For this year's call, we welcome those communities to participate in Next. CMAP will assess a community's intermediate priorities and facilitate the creation of an action plan with short, medium, and long-term implementation strategies. CMAP will also assist the community with execution. When evaluating applications for Next assistance, CMAP will consider whether the proposed project cultivates innovative approaches that implement the principles of On to 2050 and support communities' capacity to organize plan implementation efforts and achieve plan goals. While all communities are eligible and encouraged to apply, communities in cohorts 3 and 4 will receive priority consideration when evaluating applications for Next assistance. Communities are invited to apply for pavement management plans. CMAP will select an engineering firm to provide support and find the most cost-effective way to address pavement needs. This offering helps communities achieve prioritized pavement condition targets. CMAP will help create a document that emphasizes the importance of pavement preservation, describes the current condition of pavement, and evaluates cost. Information developed through pavement management plans can then support the development of a capital improvement plan. When evaluating applications for pavement management planning, CMAP will consider whether the proposed project cultivates innovative approaches that implement the principles of On to 2050 and accelerates adoption of infrastructure improvements, particularly evidence-based tools to make transportation investment decisions. In this assistance type, CMAP will work with local governments to develop a sub-area site plan for an infill site or sites, incorporating the On to 2050 principles of resilience, inclusive growth, and prioritized investment into the land planning process. Studying the underutilized infill site will determine how redevelopment could and should leverage the existing transportation network, attract inclusive investment and development, broaden diversity in housing choices, enhance the usability of the public right-of-way by non-vehicular modes, expand transportation connections to key destinations, increase roadway safety for all modes, expand community empowerment and equitable engagement, and provide an action plan to implement plan recommendations. When evaluating applications for site planning, CMAP will consider whether the proposed project cultivates innovative approaches that implement the principles of On to 2050 and supports market and fiscal feasibility when planning for the use or reuse of sites that leverage the existing transportation network. While all communities are eligible and encouraged to apply, communities in cohorts 1 and 2 will receive priority consideration when evaluating applications for site planning pilot assistance. We welcome communities to apply for technical assistance to address local road safety by creating an existing conditions report, policy recommendations, and an implementation plan. This offering facilitates the development of a community or neighborhood-wide local road safety plan. It also involves robust engagement with community members and addresses the 4 key aspects of multimodal traffic safety: engineering, education, enforcement, and emergency services. When evaluating applications for transportation safety plans, CMAP will consider whether the proposed project cultivates innovative approaches that implement the principles of On to 2050 to develop safety action plans and prepare communities for funding available under HSIP and the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, IIJA.
The RTA's Community Planning Program provides funding and technical assistance to complete plans as well as support towards plan implementation to encourage municipalities in the region to develop walkable, sustainable, and more equitable communities near transit stations and along transit corridors. While the technical assistance we provide to local governments across the region is important in achieving local goals, we are also using the program to implement the RTA's Regional Transit Strategic Plan, Transit is the Answer. New this year will be an added equity emphasis on transit-oriented development plans, ensuring these plans include the most robust public engagement and that recommendations improve the lives of existing residents and do not harm them. Also new this year, the RTA is offering funding through a pilot project type called Transit Station Activations. The funding can be used for temporary activation projects near rail stations and bus stops that help provide a more welcoming, safer, and fun environment near transit stops and stations. More information about this pilot will be provided at the end of the presentation. This year, the RTA is offering 8 project types that advance the use of transit throughout the region. There are 4 project types to develop a plan, which are Neighborhood Mobility Hub and Mobility Improvement Plans, Curb Management Studies, Equitable Transit-Oriented Development Plans, and Transit Corridor Plans. There are 3 project types that will work towards plan implementation efforts, which are Special Financing Districts, Developer Dialogues, and Zoning Code Amendments. Lastly, we'll discuss the pilot project funding for small-scale temporary rail station and bus stop activations that are open to the public. Mobility hubs are a community anchor of mobility that is welcoming and enables travelers to access multiple transportation options. Centered on frequent and high-capacity transit, mobility hubs are a safe, comfortable, convenient, and accessible space to seamlessly transfer across different travel modes. The RTA will assist local governments with examining the feasibility of mobility hubs at key transit areas and creating conceptual site plans in transit locations. Doing so brings multiple modes of transportation together, encourages seamless multimodal travel, and promotes the use of active and micro modes of travel. Outside of mobility hubs, the RTA will also assist municipalities with identifying tactical mobility improvements to accessing transit services, such as widening bicycle lanes and pedestrian sidewalks, reconfiguring roadway rights-of-way, slowing vehicular speeds, and improving bus stop infrastructure. As people use shared rides more often and continue to shop virtually, many municipalities need to rethink their curb space. especially along bus routes and near rail stations. The RTA will partner with local governments to study curb space utilization and demand. Results will then inform the development of strategies to manage high demand curb space, which could include the creation of zones for various uses, shared use zones that vary by time of day, and strategies to better facilitate efficient bus operations in high use areas. Transit-oriented development, or TOD plans, are based on the basic tenets of development centered on transit, with mixed land uses, higher residential densities, and pedestrian-friendly environments. Creating these plans in an equitable way is the RTA's focus. Equitable TOD means planning for housing, transit, businesses, and services will be done in a way that focuses on local ownership and that generates wealth building opportunities for people of color. Recommendations in these plans work to avoid displacement by strategizing investment in the community that both benefits existing residents and is done in a way that prevents gentrification. Providing an emphasis on equity in TOD planning is an intentional shift in how the RTA will be providing this technical assistance, and we acknowledge that equitable measures will be different for each municipality and community area. With each ETOD plan, the RTA will require applicants to support us in genuinely engaging the public and community stakeholders to learn what their ideas and goals are for the future of the area as well as the current challenges. The RTA will provide technical assistance to local governments to develop a transportation and land use plan for a transit-served corridor. Corridor plans involve significant engagement with the public to develop a strategy that will better facilitate walking, biking, and the use of transit along the corridor. Adjacent land uses are examined to identify economic development opportunities along the corridor as well as transit-supportive design guidelines for future new development. Corridor study areas can be contained within the boundaries of one municipality or span multiple jurisdictions. The RTA will assist municipalities with implementing plan recommendations for establishing a special financing district in transit-served areas, such as tax increment financing districts, special service areas, or business development districts. Funding generated from these districts can be used to implement economic development, transportation, job training, or redevelopment recommendations from transit-oriented development, corridor, or other municipal plans. In partnership with the Urban Land Institute, the RTA will provide technical assistance to local governments to facilitate discussions with members of the private development community. Through this half-day session, municipalities can solicit guidance and advice from development experts who will discuss the development climate and potential strategies to prepare for and attract development in a specific sub-area along a corridor or at a specific site near transit. The RTA will assist municipalities with implementing plan recommendations to update their local zoning code. Code amendments could update land use lists, bulk and density allowances, parking requirements, the creation of development standards or form-based strategies, and streamlining the development review processes. Such updates make investment in a community's TOD area more attractive to potential developers, business owners, and residents seeking to improve their property. The project team will assess the current regulations and existing conditions in the municipality, as well as all completed planning studies to deliver a revised zoning ordinance, subdivision ordinance, unified development ordinance, overlay district, or other appropriate code amendment. To support the implementation of Transit is the Answer and the RTA's Safety and Security Summit, the 2024 call for projects will pilot a new category, Transit Station Activations. Under this category, funding will be made available to cover the costs related to rail station and bus stop activation projects and activities aimed at bringing a temporary, increased presence of people to transit stations and stops as one solution to real or perceived public safety concerns. It is envisioned these projects and activities will be simple, short-term actions or events occurring for a few hours over the course of 1 to 2 days that will bring residents, transit riders, and visitors to the area to experience the activation project. This pilot is focused on temporary, short-term activities that are open to the public and not intended for permanent capital improvements. The available budget for each project is in the $5,000 to $20,000 range, and the RTA imagines the following as examples of project activations that could receive funding. Performers, events where a local musician or school choir performs near the transit station. Vendors, a pop-up event where local vendors set up an area to offer their food, drinks, crafts, or other goods. In addition to performers and vendors, other temporary activation ideas are welcome. When evaluating applications, the RTA will consider several thematic priorities. We're looking for projects that advance equity in the planning process and plan recommendations, combat climate change by advancing the priority of transit as a mode of travel, and planning for more places to live and work near transit services. Strengthen the planning capacity of high-need municipalities and investment in communities experiencing disinvestment, collaborating with previous planning partners to support plan implementation and advocate for cross-jurisdictional partnerships.
Not sure which type of assistance to apply for? This flowchart can help you determine which type of assistance is right for your community. Start at the top by considering whether you want to create a new plan or implement an existing plan. Then, follow the arrows to the type of challenge you want to address and see which assistance is designed to address that challenge. You can view the full high-resolution version of the flowchart by visiting the Call for Projects webpage. Applications for the Call for Projects are due by noon on Friday, March 22nd. Before the call closes, applicants should complete the application available through CMAP's and RTA's websites. CMAP and RTA will review applications during March and April and respond to any questions applicants may have. Successful applicants will be notified by June. Most accepted projects are expected to begin within 6 months of notification. Please do not hesitate to contact CMAP or the RTA if you have any questions about the call for projects. Thank you.